Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Mark Verzel. I am founder and lead digital marketing consultant at Sciential. And today, in approximately 10 minutes, I'm going to show you how you yourself can identify your anonymous website visitors and see from what company names they are stemming without using difficult and expensive software tools. Just using Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager, and use my step-for-step guides. No technical requirements, just having Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics installed on your website. Make sure you have that and then proceed viewing this video. Yeah, let's dive in, guys. I'm going to share my screen. Here you can see my screen. Like I said, we're going to use two platforms, Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager. In Google Tag Manager, we have 5 steps to follow. In Google Analytics, we have only 1 step to follow. So let's dive in. First, we need to create a tag within Google Analytics to eventually track or collect the IP address from our company website's visitors. So let me give the descriptive name, IP address test. You can name it whatever you want. And here we can select the tag. For this project, we're going for a custom HTML tag. Select it, and here you can paste the video we provided. This JavaScript snippets below the video in descriptions. Just copy and paste it. Basically, what this piece of code does, it's a pool. It pulls the IP address from your users and matches it with a free API address a database, so to speak, and then push this data directly into the data layer for Google Tag Manager to read. That's maybe a little bit technical. Just copy paste this and you're good to go. Having the tag selected, then we need to go to step 2, that is selecting a trigger. For this case, we can use all pages. Basically, we want to pull the IP address from all pages. So hit the save button, will be fine. Creating this step. All right, so we did 1 step, we did 2 steps, and then we can carry on to the 3rd step. That's basically push the IP address into a Google Tag Manager variable. So here we can navigate to variables. Here we go for a custom-made variable. We already made one. This is called IP address, but you can do this exercise yourself. Just go to variables, create a new custom variable. And again, here you can select the variable type. In this case, we should go for a data layer variable, since, like I said, we try to pull the IP address into the data layer and then give it a descriptive name. We chose for IP address, and the data layer version is pre-selected. Just keep it on data layer version 2, and you're all going to be set. Then hit save. Here we finished the 3rd step, basically. And then we need to go to trigger again, and you need to make a custom event. What's what we did here. Just here go for a new event, for instance, and go for custom events like we did here. It's loading. Again, it's a custom event. Just give it a descriptive name. In this case, go for IP events. Select all custom events. That's it. Go for save, and we're done. We finished the 4th step. That's all in the clear. So these are the first 4 steps within Google Tag Manager. Now we need to go to Google Analytics to make actually a custom dimension. I'm sure you guys already are familiar with Google Analytics, but I'm not familiar if you're familiar with the custom dimensions environment. It's within the admin section on property level. And you can navigate to custom dimensions and go for custom dimensions subsequently. Here you guys can already see that we already made a custom dimension, which is called IP address, but you can make one yourself, give it a descriptive name. Like we did IP address here. Please make sure that you change the scope into session, because we want to do this whole thing on a session level and not on each hit. When you've done that, check the active box and go for save. We are going for cancel because, like I said, we already made one. please remember or write down the index number here. If it's your first custom dimension, your index number will always be 1. But maybe you already have implemented a couple of custom dimensions in the past, and then you need to remember this specific name because we need it in the next step. And the next step is actually the final step within Google Tag Manager, because we need to make another name. But first we can see in the preview and debug modes within Google Tag Manager whether the implementation we did in the first 4 steps actually worked. So here you can press the preview button. I'm not sure if you guys can see my screen now because it's loading in a different tab, but here we are on our website scientialmarketing.com and just navigating through the whole website. But the most important thing is the tag assistant. Here we can see whether we are actually tracking the IP addresses from the user. Here we can see that the tags are fired. Well, a couple of things, but basically this is the one that we made, IP address test. And guys, remember that we also made a event out of it. It's called IP event. And here you can see that it's triggered. And here we can go for variables to check. And well, a whole bunch of variables that we did not fill in. So here you can see it's all undefined. But what we did fill in, or fill out rather, was the IP address. Let's see if that works. Here you can see the IP address, and happy days, it works. Here you can see an IP address. It's basically our IP address. I know that by heart. But if you don't know, just go for Google, what is my IP address? And you can check your own IP address. Well, I'm pretty sure if this the IP address is filled out, it should be with your own IP address, but you can check it with your own IP address if you want to. So that's all in the clear. Having that said, we're going to leave this environment and go to the workspace again. And the last step, like I said, we need to create a new tag for Google Analytics. Here we go, press new one. And yeah, let's give it a descriptive name. I'll always go for GA, which stands for Google Analytics. Or this is the events. It's not a page view that we're going to check, but it's events. And yeah, let's name it IP. You can name it whatever you want. Then carry on with Google Analytics. We have Universal Analytics installed. Track type, like I said, is going to be an event. And here you can give it some descriptive names. Yeah, let's go with category for instance, IP. Here you can, for instance, send. Label 1 is very important because this is what you actually want to see in Google Analytics. As you guys already can remember, we made a data layer variable from the IP address. So this is one that I want to see within Google Analytics later on. So I select it here. Then we have to do some steps here. You have to change the non-interaction hits to true. Then we need to fill in our Google Analytics settings. So basically the tracking code from Google Analytics. We made a variable out of it. Just press it here. And we want to enable overriding settings with this tag. Then we go for more settings, custom dimensions. And here, guys, here we can fill out the index number from Google Analytics, which was in our case 1. But please make sure your case is also 1. Otherwise, fill in the correct index from the newly made custom dimension. And here the value, here we want to go for, well, the IP address again. Here we go. And then the last step is the trigger, of course. And here we want to have this tag triggered on the specific event that we already made. So that's a bit, I believe, the third step that we did earlier on. Just select it here and go for save. So we're all in the clear. Having that said, we can go to Google Analytics to see how it should look like. So when people are visiting your website right now, we have used this event label and we named it with a dynamic fields that is the IP address. And here you can see our IP address. For the sake of privacy, I'm not going to show other IP addresses. But for instance, now we know the IP address from our visitors. We can copy paste it into a IP database lookup tool, for instance, Extreme iplookup.com. That's one of the tools that we use. And you can go for a paste. It's a lookup IP, and then you can see whether you have a hit and you have a company name from it. So guys, that's basically the step-for-step guide how to turn anonymous website visitors into company names by making use of smart tools such as Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager. So you're turning anonymous website visitors into IP addresses, and from those IP addresses, you can turn identify company names with IP lookup tools. It's kind of a manual labor, but it provides you new insights that you never had before. I'm pretty sure about that. At Sciential, we have developed our own tool. It's a Sciential lead identifier. It basically automates this whole process. It's free for our existing clients, so hit us a message when you're interested. If you're not, just good luck with this tool. Happy tracking. If there are any questions, please shoot us a message in the comments below, or try to fill out our contact form. We'll make sure to get back at you as soon as possible. For now, happy tracking, and hope to see you next time.